And away we go. So let's, you know the drill by now, and I do too. Look at what me, Eric, and Risk have sent in our group chat, what's ever going on in social media these days, and just, yeah, I don't know, we just send something for the sake of preparing ourselves for what is yet to come in the future. Because at some point, we'll come back to this kind of information, like I've said many episodes ago. Well, not that specific sentence, at least the things that me, Eric, and Risk have sent in our group chat. Such videos we've shared to each other, they're going to come about at some point. Not now, not this year, or the year after that. At some point, it will be brought up. However, before getting into contents that me and the lads of this podcast have shared in our group chat, I've sent something in another group chat with me, Eric, and Shadowminer for this project that we've been working on. Not to say there isn't anything for me to discuss that I would have shared with Eric and Risk. I believe, and I have discussed with Shadowminer quite recently in regards to the next phases of our broader project. Not just the relaunch of Byte, which is what I've primarily been more open about and discussed in detail. There are other parts and phases in this broader project that links in together like jigsaw puzzles. So, there are two Instagram Reels by the same content creator, which I've shared into the Project Bits group chat with me, Eric, Shadowminer, and other people such as Ace Bancer, Froyo, Sem, and Skip. Those are the people that are in that group chat working on Project Bits that plays a big role in the new wave of the internet. Just giving you a brief on that. So, I'm going to play you two separate Instagram Reels that I've shared to this Project Bits team group chat on Discord, which are both made by the same creator. And I had to cut both of them in half because sending as it is in one unedited go, that I get a message from Discord saying you've exceeded the data limit for sending content and media. So I had to cut that down so Discord would allow me to send such videos to the Project Bits team. So here is the first of the two.
Well, everybody, social media as we know it is dead. And we are now in the era of interest media. And this shift is truly unlocking one of the biggest opportunities we have ever seen. So let me explain for 1 minute. For most of social media history, platforms mainly showed you content from people you followed, your friends, your family, accounts you subscribed to. Your feed was built around your network. But that's not how it works anymore. Now, platforms serve you content based on your interests, what you watch, what you like, what you comment on, what you engage with. That's why your For You page is mostly people you don't follow or have never even heard of. And this literally changes everything because in this era of interest media, reach is no longer limited by follower count. One great piece of content can reach millions of people, even if you only have like 100 followers. I see it happen to people constantly. One post breaks through and suddenly their work is on the world stage. But here's the key. You cannot treat social media like advertising anymore. Overly promotional content gets ignored. Well, everybody, ignored. In the interest media era, the name of the game is actually quite simple. Create value, educate, entertain, inspire. Share insights people actually care about and do it consistently. Because research shows the average human attention span today is around 8 seconds. So your hook matters more than ever, and you need to grab attention immediately, say something bold, say something interesting, give people a reason to stay. Then just test, post, learn, refine, listen to your audience, double down on what works, because the opportunity here is enormous. You could have minimal followers, post one video about your niche, your industry expertise, and it could reach millions of people. But the biggest reason people miss this opportunity is because they never even start. They wait, they overthink. Meanwhile, someone else hits record, posts a perspective, and builds momentum. So just know this: social media is dead. And we are now in the era of interest media. And in this new world, anyone can win. And more often than not, can actually change their life overnight.
Okay, that's one of the two. Here's the next Instagram reel I will play for you before giving my thoughts on the two.
Well, everybody, cities and states are about to start behaving like studios, and they're going to start producing movies and television. Right now, government, states, and cities around the world are spending billions of dollars trying to attract productions and build infrastructure. And that's because storytelling and entertainment has quietly become one of the most powerful economic engines on the planet. A single film or series can create thousands of jobs, millions in local spending, global tourism, and cultural relevance that lasts for decades. We've seen this time and time again. So long story short, storytelling drives real economies. But here's the real challenge. The current model most governments rely on isn't built for the future. Most regions compete using tax incentives. The pitch is simple. Come film here and we'll give you money. And while that can attract production, it doesn't always create long-term ownership or lasting economic upside, which is why a new model is beginning to emerge. Instead of simply offering incentives, governments are starting to think like investors, producers, and financiers. The smarter model looks like this. Create a private entertainment fund backed by private capital. Use that capital to invest directly into premium movies and television that are also produced in the region. Now the equation changes completely, because instead of simply giving money away, the state becomes a producer. And that means equity in the project, long-term profit participation, recurring productions returning to the region, slate building and ongoing production pipelines, massive job creation for local crews and vendors, tourism driven by storytelling, and global cultural visibility. And most importantly, it doesn't rely solely on taxpayer funding. It's powered by private capital, just like what universities do, right? We're already speaking and exploring this with multiple states that want to utilize this approach. And in many ways, this mirrors something happening across the business world right now. Brands are becoming producers of premium entertainment. Now governments are starting to lean in and evolve. So don't be surprised when cities and states around the world begin launching entertainment investment funds. Funds designed to invest in development, production, and gap financing in exchange for equity in projects and the opportunity to host productions locally. Because the future of economic development may look a lot more like Hollywood than anyone expected. And as more capital enters the space from brands, private funds, distributors, and new partners, there will be more opportunity than ever for great stories to get made, which means more jobs, more production, and more economic growth across the board.
You know what? So true. So in regards to just social media, as we know it being dead, interest media is the next big thing. I think we're kind of entering that kind of stage right now. Even if the project that me, Eric Shadowmine are working on doesn't go ahead or gets launched in the next few years, existing platforms are certainly heading towards that trajectory of interest media as opposed to social media. People getting attention and engagement based solely on their interests as opposed to, well, actually, that's always been the case for many years. Yes, it doesn't matter how many followers that you have on social media or on any platform. If you post something that will likely draw interest to anyone that shares similar interests, hobbies, and viewpoints as the creator in question, they're going to get millions of views, millions of likes, and millions of shares to other places outside of the platform. And I think what this project that me, Eric, and Shadowmine are working on, we are certainly looking more into the interest media side of the internet, where we're allowing creators to link up and collaborate with each other to create content that is in line with their interests and hobbies, viewpoints, as well as whatever it is that they think about of doing in the long term together that will not just inspire future creators, it also sets a precedent and a cultural impact on the internet for many years to come. That's the first Instagram reel I just played for you. In regards to the second Instagram reel about cities and states investing into a media fund to attract local jobs and creating long-term investment of the entertainment industry within their local communities, why haven't states, cities, municipalities, and other local governments have thought about doing this sooner? And people ask why we still talking about Hollywood as the place where people go to become famous movie actors, actresses, movie stars, and so on. Now, of course, where I'm from, in England, there is a very prominent entertainment, and especially more so right now, media industry, which, although it doesn't have a majority of media produced across the UK, yet more likely than not, I know that whenever there's any social events, music artists going on world tours, playing one of their concerts in my home city, and as well as any other shows produced by the BBC, ITV, well, mostly the BBC, but of course, not ruling out ITV, they have studios for one of their big shows that has a massive cultural impact in the UK for at least 8 decades. That is a very long time. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. But if you don't, well, you can always go on the internet and look that up yourself. Search the longest running soap opera that is based in my home city in the UK, where a lot of the media, well, a handful of media projects, shows, movies, and even news reports are being done. Other than that, everyone's talking about Hollywood as the place to go for producing movies where actors and actresses go to become the stars that they are today. Of course, there's New York. They have studios, primarily NBC and Saturday Night Live. That's all I can think of. Oh yeah, Jimmy Fallon, perhaps. No, I know Jimmy Fallon's studios is based in New York. That's all I can think of for media produced in New York City. It's always LA, Hollywood, where a lot of the movies of cultural impact and high notoriety have been produced. And it's now local communities, nationwide subdivisions, are now considering establishing their own private fund that will help with producing not just media related jobs, it also helps with producing other kinds of media projects in TV shows, movies, maybe a third thing that ties very well with social media platforms. I don't know why people I don't know why now local governments are thinking of establishing private funds to attract media jobs. It's a great idea in my opinion, but why now? And while people say that private funding is the way to go, I will say only private funding is not going to be enough. Even if there is high interest from investors and financiers, what if a handful of them say, you know what, I don't want to invest in this anymore. I've lost my interest. I'm taking my money elsewhere. How much of a difference would that make in producing media jobs in your local community? Is there another type of funding that isn't susceptible to such influences? And I'm not just talking about adding on public funding as well as private funding for this media fund that I've heard from one of the Instagram reels I just played a few minutes ago. The sooner people realize this, the better. And especially having other types of funding so that way there's a strong safety net to ensure not just long-term investment, it also ensures stability and resilience in financial terms for such jobs in the next few years. And although unrelated to the project, well, actually also related to OG Byte / Clash when it was bought out, someone I knew from the good old OG Byte days, and and for context, for those who don't know, although I have discussed the history of bytes in episodes many years ago with Shadow Miner, I think it's a two-part episode for the start of season 10, I believe. So for the sake of the context, in regards to what I'm about to read to you, which I just sent to the project lads, the project bits, this was at a time when Clash, ran by Brendan McNerney and his other colleagues that were on the Vine app at the time when it was still around, that Clash bought out Byte as to continue Byte's legacy and community structure when it was ran by Dom Hoffman. At least that's what people in the Byte community believed. Only to realize, after the buyout, the new Clash team, the new Byte team that is now the Clash team, they said that we're going to rebrand Byte as the new Clash app. So they replaced everything Byte related with the Clash branding for the new Clash app after acquiring Byte. It's like a massive blob gulping up Skyrisers as if it was treats, biscuits, sweets. I'm not sure. Basically, Clash was a massive blob eating the skyscrapers that was the infrastructure and the spirit of the OG Byte app. The specific moment in regards to something that I came across while scrolling through my Discord DMs was the day that the Clash team announced they were shutting down their official Discord server for the Clash app. And the Clash team also announced other changes as well, although I don't believe that's all that important given that Clash is no longer a functioning app anymore. One thing that really stood out was the day that it was announced the Clash app's Discord server was going to shut down, and it did shut down. Corey, one of the staff members for the Clash team, was doing a Q&A session with his followers on Instagram, roughly at the same time. When people of the OG Byte community using the Clash app heard news about the shutdown of the Clash Discord server and other changes, they were outraged. They were not happy whatsoever. And they have gone as far to vent out their frustration onto Corey's Q&A session and Instagram stories on Instagram to show their frustration for what the decisions and choices that the Clash team had made regarding the shutdown of their Discord server and other changes which completely went against the interests of the OG Byte community. Now, to get to the point about what I've sent to the Project Bits team group chat was a list of these Q&A questions that someone I knew from the Byte community, from the Byte app, had sent to Corey on the Instagram story. And I'm going to read that message to what I'd sent to the lads in the Project Bits group chat, Eric, Shadowminer, Froyo, and so on. I texted, "Look at what I came across. Laughing emoji, laughing emoji." And then begins the message from someone that I knew had sent. It was all word for word. Here are the anonymous messages someone I know had sent to Corey, if you can see them, in brackets. And this was exactly word for word that said someone that I knew from the OG Byte days had sent to me privately on Discord DMs, as to protect the identity of the original person who had sent these responses to Corey on his Instagram story at the same time when the Clash Discord server was shutting down. So here are the questions that this unknown anonymous person had sent to Corey at the time of the Clash Discord server shutdown. Hey, what you doing? Enjoy your Benjamin Franks? Have fun with your social Ponzi scheme? Hey asshole, enjoy your creator club, grown ass man. Most annoying guy ever. And then eyes for hearts emoji, silly face emoji, and then face surrounded by hearts emoji. I'm not sure the exact names of these emojis, but most annoying guy ever was spun off as if it was a good thing when it was actually insulting and hurtful. Have you heard of Andrew Tate? You two will get along. I have 9 kids in my basement. You want to buy one? Good. That is wild. That is very wild. Fuckwad. No, really. That's one of the responses he sent that this person sent to Corey. Corey? More like Dory, 'cause you don't remember shit. Broke ass living on the streets your whole life. Hey hun, you've been a naughty boy. Can I join? Grinning emoji, happy devil emoji. Dang. This is not okay. Get a real job, wannabe influencer. I've heard what happened. Do you need help? Corey, wait. Oh my gosh. Corey, wake up. I don't like this. Corey, wake up. Oh my gosh. There was this trend on TikTok. And I understand the context of that particular phrase. It kind of goes like, Corey, wake up. I don't like this. Corey, wake up. It wasn't Corey. It was the name of another person. It was I think that was a song on social media that came from Stranger Things. That's what I remember it from, and I don't know why I remember that so well. It was kind of funny though. I will give them that. Not just the response, Corey, wake up. It's also just that trend on social media from Stranger Things. Oh, those were the days. But hey, those days are gone. Okay, there's 2 more questions, and that's it. This is the FBI. We're tracking your location and are confiscating all belongings for counterfeiting. Counterfeiting? What's that supposed to mean? And then finally, your hoodies are trash. You're not one of us. Alien emoji, cowboy emoji. And yeah, those are the small sentence responses that whoever this person is sent to Corey for his Q&A session on his Instagram stories at the same time as the Clash Discord server shut down, as a way to vent their frustration for the decisions and the choices that the Clash team had made. Now, I'm not going to say go and watch the 2-part episodes on this podcast to get an idea of what the history of Byte is and how things happen the way they happen. I will say, in short, for the sake of right now, to explain briefly, from the top of my head, whatever happened with the OG Byte app was quite unfortunate. I understand Dom Hoffman didn't have much money to keep the OG Byte app running. He was taking money out of his own pocket to keep that thing running. So I'll give Dom Hoffman credit for at least trying to be financially independent. In the end, it didn't last as long as most people hoped it would last for. And he was hoping that when the Clash team came calling to say that they want to take over the Byte app to keep the thing running, only for them to rebrand everything Byte related to the Clash app, Dom Hoffman was absolutely dedicated to keep the energy of Vinyl alive, even under a new branding, which Dom Hoffman chose because of legal reasons that Twitter, now X, holds the trademarks for the Vine name and branding, or at least the Vine branding. And with the Clash team, for everything they have done, now I know that, well, I actually gotten direct messages from one of the staff members that was part of both the OG Byte team and the Clash team to say that there have been mistakes. These people of the Clash team don't know what they were doing. They was going whim wham off the bat and whatnot. And I'll take their word for it. These people didn't know diddly squat about running an app. And I did whatever they can to listen to whatever feedback was going about. that does not excuse the problems, the bugs that happened on Clash/Huddles, and of course, the lack of providing information to the community in regards to what new plans is there put in place, as well as, not to mention, by the way, and I'm getting this, times when the Clash team not just hosted parties at the so-called Clash House somewhere in LA, how these parties went ahead, they took money out of their own business finance, the same said money that should be used to keep the maintenance and operation costs for Clash. They allegedly used that money to host these parties at their Clash, at their Creator House, and possibly yacht parties as well. At least from people who have told me about what went on behind the scenes at the Clash House, the Clash team. And hearing that alone about not just the lack of communication between the team and the community, also the mishandlement of business finance. How are people not knowing about this? How are people don't know about these situations? How are these people that should be running a platform, a business, they're using the money for what it is they want to do that is not business related? And I've heard from Shadowminer at the time saying that is actually a federal crime. That's what Shadowminer told me. Mismanagement or using business money or business finances for personal stuff and personal related events or anything that's not business related, it's a federal crime. You can go to jail for doing that, from what I've heard. Whoever was on that Clash team, they should be grateful they're not in jail right now. They should also be grateful that not many people know about what they have done. If everyone knew what the Clash team did when they bought out Byte and whatever money they had and used for whatever it is they've done, there would have been I wouldn't say there would have been a court case by now. At least there would have been nationwide stories being discussed about this. There would have been interviews by people from the community, not just people that use the Clash app, people that were on Byte, then to use Clash, about how they experienced the app, the community servers on Discord, how they interacted with the staff, how the staff handled issues that happened on the app. I wouldn't say I would have been asked to be interviewed by news stations about the incident. I know for sure people that I knew from the OG Byte days, they would have been asked to be interviewed about the situation, how the experience went on the app, interactions with the staff, and other problems in regards to the interface and technical bugs that were on the app at the time that the Clash team tried to fix. There would have been a lot more information by now about what was going on behind the scenes from the Clash team, about how they handled, well, at least everything that I've mentioned from my perspective. It's an absolute tragedy. It's criminal. Literally. It's very unfortunate. Yet, that's life. It doesn't have to be. No, life doesn't always have to be that way. Sometimes it's going to happen at some point. What's important is how do you handle these situations? And are you going to let these stories get the best of you? So that is everything that I've sent onto the Project Bits team chat on Discord. Now, onto the one discussion, or the one piece of content that Eric has shared on our group chat with Risk. Eric sent a text saying, so there's this new platform called OWN, OWN. It's interesting, and so far the only familiar face I saw on there was Paranoid Guy. For those who don't know, Paranoid Guy was one of the people that was on OG Byte at the time, and I kind of knew the guy, and I've seen him around, and I have seen him around on the Byte Discord server that is community ran, not to be confused with the other Byte Discord server that was ran by the OG Byte moderators. So yeah, paranoid guy from Byte that I knew from the Byte days. He's on the Own app, or an app called Own. I replied, cool. Paranoid guy was elite back in the day, and to this day he still is an elite, or is still elite. Eric then also added, facts. I wonder if people in the Byte server knows about the platform. I left a couple weeks ago because I wasn't active in there. And then he sent me a link onto the iOS App Store of the app called Own, saying this is the app, and then the link to the Own app, to the app called Own on the iOS App Store. He also added, still needs some work, but it's decent for what they got right now. I had a look at the app, and just on the surface level, looking at from the slides showing the promos like hot or not, you call the shots. Your story made to share. New week, new ranks go viral. Slide in safely. Fast encrypted chats. That's at least the captions of each of these slides that showcases what the Own app is like. And yeah, I'd say it looks pretty good. I haven't actually used it yet. I haven't got the app, as I just found out about this just a few minutes before starting to record this exact podcast episode. But the surface level looks pretty good. I also forwarded this exact message to Shadowminer himself, and what I said to Shadowminer in regards to forwarding that message that Eric sent, I replied with, an app Eric shared on our podcast group chat. Then Shadowminer replied, ooh, this could help with our podcast so much actually! Exclamation mark. Shadowminer also has his own podcast called, why do I not know the name? I know it has vibes in it. Where is it? I know it's there somewhere. Just trying to look for the name of that. The name of the podcast that Jacob Shadowminer is running. Oh, Voice Chat Vibes. That was the name. I knew it had vibes in it, but I just not saw the full name of it. Yeah, Jacob Shadowminer has his own podcast called Voice Chat Vibes. I've appeared in a couple of episodes. Not sure if I know Shadowminer will continue to record some episodes in the future. There are times that me, Shadowminer, and Rocketman, a friend of Shadowminer, that he's also a regular on Voice Chat Vibes, they do record episodes every Thursday night. However, other Thursday nights that hasn't happened, and especially now that there hasn't been another session to record another Voice Chat Vibes episodes in quite a while. Not that I have a problem with it, with the scheduling and the timing. I just enjoy discussing and talking about whatever comes to our minds and so on. So yeah, that's at least in relevance to the context that Shadowminer said that the app called Own that Eric shared on the group chat for our podcast saw somewhere along during his time on his phone, realized that looks kind of interesting. I'll have a look at it. And yeah, thought you should share it with us. And I'd say that's also interesting. What I want to know is how long will this last? I've heard in the last few days as of this recording, there used to be another app called Neptune, which I would describe as our project's twin in innovation, or at least the twin of the Revival Byte project. They announced a couple of days ago that they were closing down the app completely and safely deleting all the accounts and the data affiliated with the Neptune app. And you know what? It's very sad that it had to go. Not that they wanted to. The finances was very tight for a project that didn't involve any outside investment. or financiers, or anyone with millions of dollars to chug money into the project. So yeah, it's very sad that Neptune is no longer around. I'd want to see how it go. However, that's how startups work. You gotta be very strategic about your finances, the costs, and the maintenance and operations. Otherwise, it's gonna go bust. And Shadowminer knows this very well. Hence why hence why a couple of years ago Shadowminer created this long-term roadmap where the revival of Byte is one piece to the broader project bits that me, Eric, and Shadowminer are working on. That is fully run by Sagomatic Studios, which is the company that Shadowminer runs, along with Billy Nazio. And I'd say Shadowminer and Billy are doing pretty well for themselves in operating Sagomatic Studios. And I'm not saying this because I'm friends with Shadowminer and I want him to do well. I see potential in Sagomatic Studios doing well with the mini projects that's going on, along with the project that I'm primarily helping with in regards to bringing back the Byte app for the present day. He does other projects as well. And actually, in regards to, I also said at the start of the episode that Shadowminer talked to me a while ago about something. That something that Shadowminer talked to me about was in regards to not the revival, not the Byte revival project, mini project. It's also in regards to another project within the broader scope of Project Bits, which is, well, the Bits app, which is that's going to provide long form content to be shared, not shared, kind of shared. It's been a while I've discussed what Project Bits is. However, the new name for Project Bits, or at least the new name for the Bits platform, is going to be called Multivision. Multivision is going to be that platform where long form content is going to be shared. Not sure if it's going to be on par with the functionings and fluidity like Netflix, Amazon Prime, or other streaming platforms. Nonetheless, it's going to be a long form platform for long form content. It's going to be a new platform showcasing all kinds of long form content. I wouldn't say it's similar to YouTube. Then again, YouTube does provide long form content that anyone can share for themselves. And as of the time Shadowminer talked to me about Multivision, one of the cornerstones to the broader long-term plan for Sagomatic Studios, where Revival of Byte, does play somewhat of a role in this, and it will work alongside Multivision and other projects like Vibespace as well, which is a platform catering to music. There's a lot going on in Sagomatic Studios, and I can't wait to see what happens next in regards to the cornerstones of this long-term plan drafted up by Sagomatic Studios. I can't wait to get started, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. Also, there was something else I said last time I recorded a podcast episode on a different podcast, and it was in regards to the Hungarian parliamentary elections, which just happened a few days ago. And this is on the group chat with me, Eric, and Risk11, the podcast. Risk responded with texting, Orban lost his election. Hungary about to be flooded with illegals. I responded to Risk saying Peter Magyar's party, Tizia, leans slightly more left than Fidesz, doesn't mean they're left-wing. There will be changes in Hungary, not much that erases the work that Orban has done as Prime Minister, except for not going to Eurovision. I also added in, it's like if the Tories won the UK general election off reform. Risk then added on one of coalition partners pro-communism. Now, that particular response, I was like, wait, what? There's a communist party in Hungary? Now, of course, I know Hungary was in the communist Eastern Bloc during the time of the Soviet Union. However, I didn't believe a communist party still exists in Hungary after the fall of the Soviet Union. And I would say the Social Democratic Party in Hungary, although somewhat similar ideas, I'd still say that the Social Democratic Party in Hungary has differences to the Communist Party in Hungary during the time of the Soviet Union. Well, that's my opinion, of course, on the differentiations of those parties. And just a few hours after Risk had given his opinions on the Hungarian parliamentary elections, I looked into the actual results of the parliamentary elections in Hungary, and TISA, the party led by Peter Magyar, has won 2/3 majority, which is quite impressive. Meaning, whatever TISA plans to do, once they resume parliament sessions, they can pretty much undo all of Orban's doings. Even when I do believe Peter Magyar will make a lot of changes in Hungary, I don't believe the changes in question will make too much of a difference. And if they do, the next few years for Hungary, under Peter Magyar, I don't believe it's going to be too much difference, as opposed to Hungary under Orban. The only difference is that the connections between Hungary and Russia is no longer there. Under Orban, Hungary and Russia had very close ties to each other and had each other's back throughout the last decade or two. However, since Peter Magyar is now the new Hungarian Prime Minister, and he's made it very clear that he doesn't want anything to do with Russia, and he also plans to strengthen ties with the European Union, that will be the most notable difference for Hungary after the outcome of this year's parliamentary election. A drastic difference in Hungary. Again, even with the 2/3 majority, they can pass whatever new policies and legislatures they would like. We'll have to wait and see. And when these changes do come about in Hungary, there will be other things in Hungary that will stay the same, like it had been during Hungary during the time Orban was Hungarian Prime Minister. Now, what do I think of the parliamentary election in Hungary? Honestly, I don't have strong opinions on this. Now, of course, I know Risk is not all that happy about the outcome of the election results. And whilst I know Peter Magyar will want to reverse the plans, Peter is going to do that. He will certainly do it with the majority he has gotten. Whatever difference it will make. And this is going to be a hot take election. Like 14 years of the Tories at the last general election, everyone was either trying to vote for Labour or the Liberal Democrats if it meant that the Tories were not able to win seats in said constituencies. And what do we get in the UK? A strong 400 plus seat majority for Labour. Whilst everyone was so happy at the time, I think history speaks for itself. Even people I know that even voted for Labour at the last general election, they're not happy with what Labour are doing right now in the UK. And they're really considering voting for the Greens the next local election as well as the general election. I believe similar circumstances there might happen in Hungary as well. Not that there are people that hate TISA or Peter Magyar. What I'm saying is, the reason why people voted for TISA or Peter Magyar in the first place is to get Orban out of power. And the Hungarians got what they wanted. The question is, are they willing to put up with Peter Magyar, even if Peter Magyar introduces policies that most Hungarians don't agree with? And I'm referring to people in Hungary that leans more to the left. Do left-wing thinking people in Hungary agree with the policies in the legislature that Tisza plans to introduce, even when they say they're going to reverse the years of Orban in Hungary? Well, it's been a few days since the parliamentary election in Hungary, so it's far too early to say. If there was another party that leaned more to the left than Tisza does, and people believe that those particular parties have a chance of getting seats and to win power to be the next government of Hungary, people that do lean left in Hungary, they would vote for such parties in the next upcoming local and/or general parliamentary elections. Otherwise, for now, let's see how Tisza and Peter Magyar does for Hungary, and if there is any positive differences in Hungary in the next few years. Changes within Hungary, as well as what comes out of Hungary trying to strengthen their relationship with the European Union. And that is it for the episode.